Hi guys, it's been a while, but we are back with something very interesting, which is HTMX with web components. So let's start. What we'll do is to implement a few web components specifically for the HTMX usage. So I will make a few assumptions here. So I will assume that you know more or less how HTMX and web components work. I will explain a few things while implementing, but nothing in depth. So make sure that you know more or less how they work. I made a few videos about HTMX and wrote an article about it, so I will link that all below. And with that said, let's start. As always, I have prepared a few things to make the whole process faster. So we have a simple node server, which will return our HTML, one HTML page and HTML fragments required by the HTMX, some CSS and JavaScript. We'll go here in a while, but before doing that, let's start it. So what we need is, also we use Tailwind, but that's basically a set of useful CSS classes. You don't need to know that how it works specifically. Yes, but having that in mind, let's start our app. I install the dependencies. As I said, we only have node server, written Express, and Tailwind, and we need Node at least in this version of 19. And we have one script, build and run, and build is just executing Tailwind command that creates CSS file for us. So it takes that. We have a few classes here, scans this file where we will use Tailwind classes, and it will give us the output here, minified as specified here. Right, so let's do npm run build run. Let's go to the browser. Yeah, and we will work on that, guys. So I actually have prepared one web component, which is this list. Let's see. Yeah, so besides the Tailwind classes, as you can see, we have items lists and item element, which obviously doesn't exist. Both of them don't exist in HTML. These are components created by me. So we have HTMX component JS. We'll work on that. And let's walk through what we have here. So we have a few default classes, or classes that are needed for our components to work. We'll also get to that, but in most components we will allow to style them externally, to inject classes on each of their elements. But also we need to have some defaults. So for that I just create a few classes prefixed like that, so that the name don't conflict with anything that we may define in other places. So basically we define them here in JavaScript, and we attach this styles element to the head, and I think it's visible here. Yeah, so we have link to our styles CSS, but also the guide that we created here in JavaScript. And what's interesting, because we also use HTMX here, just attaching their script, we can see that we have also a few classes coming from HTMX. Alright, then we have some utils for HTMX. We'll use them in a while. Just a few events and utils to interpret events, and we also have our own base class for web components, because to create web components we need to at least extend this class, and this comes from just the browser HTML element. I've created HTMX element, and what we have here is basically a few util functions that will help us to render some attributes on our web components, mostly about classes and HTMX attributes. We'll get to that. Here we have custom modal that will go at the end of the video, where we will be tinkering with it. And here are our two web components that I have used here. So we have items lists, and it's really simple. As you can see, we just have an ordered list, and here we use one of our methods which basically renders the we have a convention here that I created. Let's see, where you have items list, and as you can see, I specified class container here. This is one of the target classes that adds margin on top of this container, and we turn class container to class attribute of this guy. So we have a convention that we specify class, then container, and we turn this to just class of the element that we named here. And yeah, and we have the same for item element, I guess. Yeah, item element, it has the same convention, but we have class item, here we have class container, and in general we will follow this convention to specify elements. Alright, and also in the item element we have a few two attributes, ID and name, that allows us to in a neat way render this without knowing the details. So how we do this is you can go to server.js right now also that I have prepared. So here we have items component function, which is used here in the index.html page function, and index.html page just renders this guy, this main page. We can see the network. Here we just return the rendered HTML page with the help of HTMX. And what it is just HTML. Here we have a list, which is our custom web component. So what we do here is we have items list, which is our web component that we have created. It doesn't exist in normal HTML. It's a custom tag, and we iterate over items, which are these guys. Let's see what we call it. Return items component, and yeah, we have items here basically that we render, and as you can see, on each item element we specify classes. We have quite a few of them. They all come from Tailwind, and as item ID and item name we specify the fields from our item object, and in that way, as you can see in the response, we just specify attributes, and we don't need to bother about the details of rendering the HTML. The details are hidden here in the web components, which is the whole point. They encapsulate certain behavior and the rendering of the given component, element, or a page. And for more interesting things, we also have we dispatch the custom event here that the item was clicked. I think we can see that in the console. Yes, we will make use of that in a while. So what we need to do, guys, I have prepared a few endpoints in server.js file. So to add items, but without validation, and we have to endpoint to validate ID, to validate name, because mostly we create a form that will allow us to add items with inline validation and other nice stuff like that. So let's start. Where we will define that, guys, obviously here in HTMX component. So how we can name is for example item form. I guess let's extend HTMX element. Let's call constructor, and let's start really simple with just rendering the form without anything like that. And in order to use it, we need to define it in the custom element. So let's do that. Item form. And in server.js, let's add it to our index HTML page. So let's say item form. And let's see that it renders. Okay, shouldn't see. Okay, we'll call super constructor. Yeah, I didn't do that. Let's fix that and run our app. And we should have item form here. Yeah, we have, but without anything. So what we need to have here, two inputs, ID and name, because this is how our item object is structured. And then we also want to be able to validate each of the inputs independently. So we will need two inputs, some element for errors. For that, we also create a custom element, and then submit button, I guess. That is at the very least. So let's start actually. So let's start with two inputs and the submit button. So let's actually, maybe let's define it here, and then we turn it into a function. So two inputs. Let's give them a name. So ID placeholder. I don't know, item ID. Here let's do name and placeholder item name. Let's maybe also do submit button. So type submit, value add item. So that's the string. That should be the string message or submit button. Right. So we would like it to be always in the line, I guess. So we don't want to enable changing that behavior that input is in its own line. So let's can just do style without any CSS classes. So let's do display block, and also here, like that. Let's see how it looks. Yes. Obviously we'll style it later, and if we click it, we have submission that we don't want. Yeah, but I would turn it into the class, into the function actually. So let's call it, I don't know, rendered input. What we have here, name, input name, I guess, placeholder for now, and let's just do not that, string literal here, and let's say name and placeholder like that, and let's just call it and input ID, item ID, and here let's do name and item name like that. And so let's just see that it works. Okay, it works, and we can style it more, or we can just make it work more or less without any validation. So for it to submit this form using HTMX mechanisms, we need to have HTMX tags here, and for that I have prepared the following method. I think rendered element HTMX attributes form, and what it will do, guys, is to take to scan the attributes. It will take all elements of the attribute, starting with hx coming from HTMX, and once that ends with that attribute name. So we have things like hx post form. Hx post comes from HTMX, and we will add element name suffix to it, and we do this with all HTMX attribute, and this method is just stripping the element suffix, because with the help of this convention we'll be able to specify HTMX attributes on many elements of web component. So we'll be able to say hx post on form, hx post on input, on ID input, name input, and so forth. Yeah, so let's just show how it will work instead of talking too much. So here we can now do hx post add item, but not that, but hx post form, and it will be turned to hx post on the form element. Let's see. Yeah, we have a form and hx post add item, and it will not work right now, or yeah, because by default the response to add item will return the items list. Yeah, where we have that add item post validation. We will do this in a while. We push new item to items lists and return items component, yeah, which is this guy, as we can see. But by default the HTMX swaps the content of the element that triggered the request, which is form. So the interior of form element was swapped with items list. We obviously don't want to have that, and we also don't have validation. Yeah, so what we need to do is to change the target. So HX target form, and we want to swap the items. I believe, let's see, items list should have ID items. So let's rerun our app and let's do something, I don't know, like that. Yeah, and we already have that, guys, which is nice. Yeah, in the response we got the item. We sent form data with ID and name, and in the response we got updated list. Yes, with list containing only web components, which is interesting. All specified using their attributes. Okay, guys, so we have that. Obviously, we don't have any validation, and we would like to have it. Yes, so let's start with what we can do is to we obviously need a few attributes, HTMX attributes here, but we also need to have a component to show errors, because we would like to have something that, like, where we will type ID here and see error here. So let's create component to show errors actually. So let's do item, not item, but like input error. Let's say we'll extend HTML element, HTMX element, obviously. Constructor, let's call the base class. So let's start really simple, which is just paragraph. With the we need to have a message. So let's say message attribute, I think get attribute or default coming from our HTMX base class. We have a message, and if it's not specified, it will be an empty string. So just message class. So yes, so let's do maybe error class. And we have some defaults. So as I said, so what we have is to have default error class and have that if not specified, but we allow this to be overridden, but also we need to have this guy hidden class, because by default it should be hidden, but maybe to show that it works, we'll not hide it just yet. So let's do this class, or I don't remember, get element class or default. So here we'll go the error, which is the class error, because this is how we have defined in the interior of this method. So class suffix actually should be element. So our convention is saying So error, and if not specified, default error class. Yeah, and let's just start with actually that. So it will always be visible right now by default. We'll change that in a while, but for now let's keep it that way. So input error, and so here, and we need to define it here. So input actually not right. Right, let's go. Should be visible. It's not, because we don't have any message, I guess. Yeah. All right, so just to make sure that it works, guys, let's do in our item form, let's do that test and then it should be visible. And actually what I wanted to do is, because we need to hide it, I will like to hide it from displaying it, regardless of whether we have message or not. I mean, when we don't have a message. So what I would like to do is to have something like that, that if we have message, or yeah, it's maybe hidden class, and let's do message, then we don't have it, and hidden class if we do have if we don't have a message. So let's add that. Yeah. So it has this displayed, and if we would remove this guy, it will not be displayed, basically. Yes, so let's go to the DevTools. We have we don't. Okay, let's see. Input error, not visible at all. Interesting. Yeah. So hidden class. Yes, we did something wrong, guys. So hidden class, we probably have a conflict. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, yeah, we have it, display none. Alright guys, but why we even did that? To basically be able to display errors here, but we don't have validation yet. So what we need to do is, when we type something, I would like to ask our backend whether the input is correct or not, because we want to have it in the one place, which is our backend, because also we also need to have validation here. So in that way we can have it in one place. So let's do something like sid valid, I've prepared a simple function that basically check whether ID is an integer and whether it is greater than 0, nothing complicated. So if ID is valid, we need to do something, and then we also need to do something. So we need to have a way of returning an error here. But how? Let's get back to our input definition. I would also like to have here HTMX attributes. That's for sure. A few things I don't want to enable to override. So trigger, we would like to issue it after input is changed. So let's check how it was done. Give me a while. Yeah, so it is done like that. So basically, input, if it was changed, we wait this amount of time, which is half a second, and then HTMX will issue a request for us that we need to specify here. So what else do we need? First, we need to tell what we need to swap, because input will trigger HTTP request, and in the response it will get some HTML fragment from the server. But we obviously don't want to swap the input. We would like to change this guy, input error, and whether it will have a message or not, it depends on the backend logic. So for that we use the HX target element. We do next input error, I believe. I don't remember if we need a dot or not, maybe not. So just the next HTML element that has this tag, which is this guy. And also we need to specify swap strategy, which is outer HTML in that case, because we want to swap it all, not only its interior. Okay, and that should work more or less. We don't have backend ready here, but let's actually not implement that yet, but let's do the let's add here, as I said, the HX post ID input. This is how I will name this input, and we have validate ID. And one thing I forget to do is here to say how it is named. So let's do name and input. Okay. It will swap HTMX ID input, HX post ID input to HX post for that particular element. Let's see if I didn't make any mistakes. Yes, we have that. So here we specified the HX post for ID input, and here we have that. And yes, we have a few things from HTMX. It will not work right now, but but as you can see, it triggers the HTTP request as it should, but it is pending because we don't answer with anything on our server. So let's fix that. So what we should do, guys, if is ID valid returns true, we should return the similar input error that we have here, so without any errors. So let's start with some function. How we have named it, things like that. Items component we have, so let's say input function input error component like that. We have a few parameters, mostly message, and here, which is really nice because of the web components, we just need to say input error and specify the message like that. Yeah, I think that's it. Maybe let's also create input error component, something without errors. Input components, maybe empty input error component. Or even hidden. Yeah, I think hidden is better. We just call the input error component, but with empty message. So if is ID valid, we will return HTML page request and empty response. The hidden input error component, and in other case, so let's return HTML page also, but input error component, and with the message that ID needs to be a positive number, like that. Okay, let's see. Should work. Okay, that's actually a good idea. So yeah, we shouldn't do that. I'll fix that, but let's do the incorrect. Okay, something it almost worked. Oh yeah, it almost worked. I didn't. Yeah, this is wrong. So we just need to enclose that, and it should be fine. Yeah, so as you can see, it works, guys. Let's do -2. Let's do, yeah. And what is happening here? We send the request. I mean, HTMX is sending the request thanks to the things that we have specified here. So also, as you can see, as long as I'm typing, nothing is sent, which is nice. Yes. So maybe let's also add some margin here. So let's do additional error classes, and I don't know, let's do this. And actually we have our own error class, because as you can remember, this is the default one, and here we can do, I've prepared something a little bit different, so we can specify it here. So let's do error plus additional error classes, and see how it will look. Okay. Yes, much better. All right, guys. So we have ID. We don't have name. So let's do the same for name. This will be easy, as it's almost a copy paste. So we have validate name. So what let's do is name valid. Let's have it name. And let's say that name needs to have between min and max characters. And this characters. Okay. It's valid, and we also need to update here, guys, but we did this in the generic way, so the only thing I need to add is HTMX post name input add item validate name. As you can remember, this thanks to our rendered input class. We have a name convention here, so it will all work. Should. Okay. Let's see. Works. Yes, guys. Pretty nice. Let's think whether we have everything here. Almost. So we have validation here. I mean, we have information about whether ID and name is valid, but unfortunately, we can still add invalid item. We don't want to allow that. So what we need to update is, let's go to validation. Yes. So here we also need to validate. So let's just use our ready to use functions we have defined. So is ID valid. So let's take new item ID and is name valid, new item name and apps. And also what I wanted to have is to require that ID is not taken. So here we have a check whether a given ID is taken or not. So if ID and name is valid, we also need to check if is ID taken. Okay, so we will have that. Only here, actually, we'll add new item and return the items component. And in other cases, we need to return the error. So response, yeah, and actually we go back to that, but we don't have it ready. So right now let's just do 400. We will explain why in a while, because this we want to handle a little bit differently. Let's just specify the message. It will work partially right now because we don't have everything ready. ID needs to be unique. Say valid ID and name. It's required. Something like that. Yes. Okay. Yes. And we just have 400 we got, and in the response we have string with the message that we should show somewhere. So for that, actually, we can use either a model that I have prepared, but let's maybe do this in a different way. So what we can do is to add in our item form something like that, which is input error, some kind of, I don't know, generic error that we will show in that case. So basically we can have because to do that we need to listen to HTMX events. So we need to listen to them in our item form. So in the web components we have something like that. So connected callback and disconnected callback, if I remember correctly. And here we can do some things. Okay, so first is to let's listen to, actually we can, I think, do that on this. We have HTMX events after request, and let's see what we have here, guys. So let's do HTMX after HTTP request, something like that. Okay, let's run it. Right. So we have a listener, so let's execute this, and we after HTTP request we have the detail, as you can see, and what we have here is where it was XHR, and we have a response, so we can show it here, guys. And actually I have prepared the event like that, but we also need to, in generic case, we should also check that it was issued from our element, not from all the pages, not from any other element in the page. So let's also do this request from element, and here let's find our form. So this query selector form, and here we basically say it's request from our form, because it can be issued from other places, and we don't want to check for that. So let's do that. It's request from element and which are form, and let's also only check, or actually we can do, guys, I think, oh no, there are two ways of doing that, but let's stick with this one. Is failed request, and here we just check whether it was failed or not. And error, we have HTMX. I also prepared the request response from event. Let's see whether it will work. So request from event, response from event, and let's see what we will have. yeah, we have this, guys. So what we need to do right now is to have our I don't know, generic error, something like that. Also to query selector input error, and here I would say that generic error set attribute message error, and but it should not work because the input error needs to listen to changes for an attribute, and it is not. So if we do this, we have we even can see that we have set the valid name, valid agent name is required message, but it's not shown. Actually, for that, there's a mechanism in web component, so we can say observed attribute, and we care about message, and we needed to have some kind of callback. Yeah, so it was that, and here we can re-render our error. So basically, let's create a function to re-render, and let's simply render it, basically. Message, or we can also parameterize it like that. Maybe let's do something like that. So this render message, okay, and here we also do the render new value, and it should work, guys. Let's see. Yes, we do have that. Let's also check that we didn't break the previous behavior. Yes, it works. Yeah, we need to parameterize the class, because as you can see, it looks differently. So let's do our here, let's say this get on class. Oh, I think we need to do something different here. Don't render on class if set, not that. Yes, we need to render attribute if set. Yeah, I paused because this is a little different, because we can't map it from class input generic error, for example, as I wanted to call it, but this is also a component, and it requires class error name, so we need to do something like that. This rendered not class but attribute if set, and say target is class error and source is class generic error, and let's specify this here. Yes, let's do class generic error, something like that. Okay. Yes, we have this. So what do we need, guys? That we don't have it yet. We have this validation. We also have that. We can't add the item. If we add it like that, let's do valid. Yeah, maybe we should clear the inputs also, I would say. So I would like it to, because that's a good information, but right now we also have that, so we should clear those out, I would say. So let's find our inputs. So we need to query selector all, I think. How it was, something like that. So all inputs, but not submit one. Something like that, I believe. Maybe it was also like that. Okay, and right now inputs for each, let's do, and let's do on input on at event listener. I think input on every new input. Let's clear it. Okay, let's see. Yeah. So this is this thing that I wanted to show after. So not clearing the inputs we'll do after successful request. Right now we don't want to clear the input, but clear the generic error. So let's set attribute message to empty. Nice. Okay. Okay. See, nice. It works. Yeah, if you send. Nice. So let's add an item, guys. Let's also try to add the item with ID that exists, and yeah, let's clear those out. That's what I wanted to do. So here actually we can do, I think, is request from element form. We only are each interesting in those. So if it's not, let's just return. If it's fine with that, and else we will clear the inputs. So for each input, let's do, for each input that is not a submit button, let's clear them out. Yeah, so I think we have it almost all. Maybe we should also do the yes, so we should also the register this guy. So let's turn it to function, maybe here. So this after request listener, something like that, can have. Okay. Something like that, and here we should register it. So remove event listener. Let's see whether it works or not. Yes. So okay, seems to be working. Yes. I also wanted to show the model, but it's already quite long, so I don't think we should do that. Maybe I will create another video for that, but before that, let's maybe at least before ending, at least show that how we can style this guy. So similar to previous things we can do, let's wrap it in the container actually, like that. Let's do this rendered class, rendered on class if set container. Okay, and let's also allow to style this inputs, guys. So let's say here, let's do this guy. So let's call it input ID, something like that. We have here, and yeah, I made a typo because I try to move too quickly as I shouldn't. So we have this. So we will be able to style each input, and maybe let's also do allow to style this guy. I know that video is long, but that's quite important feature. We can skip modal, but not that. Rendered on set, and let's call this guy submit for simplicity. And let's add some styles, guys. So we have this. Let's do class container, and maybe let's add similar background to these guys. So I think it was wait. Classes are from Tailwind, obviously. Rounded. Yeah, let's start with that. Let's see whether it works. Yeah, we have these guys, quite nice. Let's add some padding. Let's add some padding. Okay. And let's do something with the submit guy. So like, I don't know, padding x axis, padding y axis, and let's give it some border, for example, like, I don't know, slate 200 or something like that. You can see it's quite nice that we can externally style the components. Okay, y border slate. I think we had it here. Alright, I didn't specify the border size. Alright, maybe, I don't know if we have 300 or 4, but let's do this a little darker, right? Probably we should have also some margin like that, but dependently of exact styles, you can see we can customize everything. We can also customize these guys, which is amazing. So class ID input, let's give them some padding also, padding and rounded, and that will be enough, guys. You know that you can see how it works and what you can do. So just to demonstrate, yes, we have this. With error we have margin, without we don't. So I would also say class name input. Let's give it some margin on the top like that. Yeah, better. Right here. Then so let's do the whole flow again, guys, to celebrate what we have achieved. So let's do the invalid input, invalid ID, invalid name. Yeah, invalid name, like that. Then we add item. We have generic error here. It goes away. We can't add item with taken ID, but if we fix that, we have it. Input is cleared. If we click, we have click on an item. I would also show the modal that we can have when clicking, but I don't want to make it too long. And also we encapsulated it all in HTMX components, which is amazing. In general, I think about creating a library out of those components, I think it's quite useful and nice idea. But with that, let's end. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I see you in the next one, guys. See ya.